And Joshua Wong is here with us in our studio. Joshua, thank you for joining us here on DW. We heard there's been an official complaint from China on your visit here to Germany. And at the same time, today we've also heard from Hong Kong's leader, Carrie Lam, again asking protesters to end the violence there. I want to play you a clip of what she said. Let's take a look at that.
In our view, violence should be stopped for the benefit of Hong Kong. But going forward to mend the rift in society and to bring back peace, then we are very willing to engage people directly in a dialogue.
That is a very clear message there from Carrie Lam. In our view, violence should be stopped for the benefit of Hong Kong. Why isn't it being stopped?
When we experienced police brutality in the past 3 months, the only thing aware by Hong Kong people is no police, we have peace. And now is the time for Hong Kong government to conduct investigation commission and to investigate on police brutality.
You keep talking about police brutality, but Joshua, I want to show you some pictures of some of the protests that we saw over the weekend. We have some pictures of some of the scenes of protests here. And these are scenes, we have to say, of violence, of protesters destroying property. We will see soon some pictures also of barricades and boxes being set on fire. These don't look like peaceful protests, Joshua.
Barricade is used to protect protesters instead of allowing police storm into the crowd during the peaceful protest. At the same time, I'm strongly aware that force has been used by protesters, but we're strongly aware that the only way out is for Hong Kong government not to stay behind of riot police and do nothing to allow clash and violence happen. Instead of blaming on activists, now we are asking where is President Xi and Carrie Lam?
But don't you think the protests might have gone too far, Joshua?
I think the protest must continue with our calls on free election. Of course, no one would enjoy to see clash and violence happen, but with our calls on free election, the ultimate and fundamental goal of Hong Kong people is just asking for the right to elect our own government. We hope to have the right to vote.
You hope to have the right to vote. You were asking for democratic concessions. But the whole reason these protests started, and the reason we're seeing that violence that I've been asking you about on the streets, is because there was a bill introduced by the Hong Kong leadership to extradite to mainland China. That bill has now been removed. I mean, isn't that a sign from the Hong Kong leadership that they are willing to talk? I mean, we just heard Carrie Lam say we are willing to engage people directly in a dialogue. Why is the violence then continuing?
Pro-democratic camp lawmakers sent an open letter to Carrie Lam on 1st of July, urged to have dialogue. But from 1st of July till now, Carrie Lam never replied that letter.
But she's now replied. Isn't it time to take her up on it?
She didn't reply the letter. So we are really curious why at the same time the leader of Hong Kong handpicked by Beijing claimed that, oh, we are willing to have dialogue, but at the same time never reply any letter or any invitation from lawmaker from pro-democratic camp. From my point of view, political crisis must solve by political system reform.
So what kind of reform are you talking about at this point?
Political reform means that we are asking for free election. Now the leader of Hong Kong is not elected by Hong Kong people. The chief executive is just a puppet of communist authorities. And we hope the leader of Hong Kong can be the one getting mandate from people and let Hong Kong, such a global city, can enjoy stability and prosperity.
So you're saying if there were free elections, these protests and that violence would stop?
If Hong Kong people can enjoy free election, we will not see any kind of protest continually in every weekend.
Meanwhile, you're here in Germany, and also, and you're heading after this, we should say, also to the U.S. to meet with supporters there and lawmakers there. Over the weekend, I want to show you some pictures of what we saw the protesters doing there over the weekend. See, they're waving U.S. flags, and we heard protesters there calling on the U.S. to liberate their territory. Joshua, this is still one country, two systems, but one country. So what exactly are you asking for on this trip?
So just let us make it clear. During the protest on the last Sunday, more than 100,000 Hong Kong people urged U.S. Congress to pass the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act. Of course, with people voicing out the slogan of Free Hong Kong or Liberate Hong Kong, but we're still strongly aware that Hong Kong is under the rule of Beijing and part of China's territories. The only demand for us is to have universal suffrage, then generate democracy. And we urge world leaders, when we are facing the threat of the troops moving to the border and how the martial law in Hong Kong might be executed in the future. Now is the time for world leaders. They have the responsibility to safeguard Hong Kong's political and economic freedom.
All right, pro-democracy leader Joshua Wong, thank you so much for joining us here on DW.
Thank you.